Yo, 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 what is going on? Is your boy, Michael Patrick Buckley, here back on the Hungry People podcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Guys, on last week's episode, I interviewed Richard Arsenault, all about feeling good on Instagram. We had a really fun discussion, a really fun talk, just about, veganism, stuff that he eats in a day, working out, some animal activism stuff. Pretty cool. Fun episode. I hope to have Richard back on again at some point. He's a good dude. Little little Canadian up there. Yo, he holy heck, he built his own yurt, lives in a yurt. How cool is that? It's badass. But let's get right to it, guys. Today. It's early here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's dark out. It's still early and it's dark. That's the worst. Is it actually, is it though? It's weird because in the summertime it's light at like 5:45, and then holy heck, it's 7:21 right now in the morning, and it's still relatively dark out, as you can see. What do you prefer? It's like I feel like it's kind of nice for sleeping in because it's still dark, and you're like, oh, nice. It's not late out yet, and still got more time. But then, like in the summertime, it's like 5:45. Hey, we gotta go. We gotta get up. It's time to go. But anyways, guys, today, you see this right here? What I have in my hands? This is water. And we're gonna talk about water today. Now, not just water in general, but should you drink plain water? That is what we're gonna discuss today. And I'm gonna take a sip. The nice smooth taste of some good water, some good filtered water. Actually, I have a Berkey filter. Uh, is that ideal for what I want? Yes and no. I mean, it's pretty good actually. Yeah, it feels like it filters out a lot of the contaminants, most of them at least. I mean, there's only so much you can do sometimes, right? Um, I feel like the Berkey is more of a backup filter, in my opinion. I feel like I would actually want something connected to my faucet in my house. Like that'd be easier. Whether it is like an RO filter or what else? Pristine hydro. What else? Stuff like that. And I know there's like distillers and there's canned in water people out there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty content with the Berkey. Seems to be working out okay for me. But guys, so when I had an idea, and I really want to get or try to at least get my followers into the conversation here. So I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start putting questions up on my Instagram page, and hopefully I can get some feedback from them that I can bring to the show and bring to light here in the podcast. I think that keeps it fun, keeps it entertaining, and they can offer insight as well, and then I can give my insight on their insight. So the question that I put up in my story, plain and simple, was: do you think that we should be drinking plain water, or do you think that we should be adding, minerals, electrolytes back into the water? Like, what are your thoughts? So I'm just gonna read off some of the answers that people gave me, and just kind of I'm not going to build a discussion around those answers or around these answers, but just going to get some thoughts. So someone said, I think plain old water is essential. Any water is good water, especially if eating a lot of cooked food, but no tap water form, which is like she's contradicting herself because she said any water is good water. So that would mean tap water, but then she says tap water, but not tap water. That's confusing, right? It should be filtered with minerals slash electrolytes added back into it. Interesting. Okay, this didn't really answer the question, I guess, but Uh, Distilled cleaned my body. I drank for 4 years, then stopped in Europe. I noticed a huge difference. Back on distilled, and I'm detoxing like crazy again. So, and then she says, I use distilled with lemon or lime juice. So it seems like she drank distilled water for 4 years, stopped drinking it, and then she started drinking it again, and then she's, I guess, supposedly detoxing. And then she says that she adds lemon or lime juice to the distilled water, which would make sense because distilled water, I think, pretty much has nothing in it. It just, I think that's like the one thing where it is just water or whatever kind of structure that may be. H2 O2 O2. I don't someone responded with electrolytes at least. Today's water is devoid of minerals. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I can probably agree with that. Okay, spring water is most natural, but since everything is polluted, distilled is best. Only if we get electrolytes from fruits, though. Now, this is coming from someone who is definitely more of a fruitarian. Now, this one's pretty good. She said, I personally can drink all the plain water in the world and don't think it hydrates me. If I add minerals or electrolytes, it's night and day how I feel. So now I go off how I'm feeling instead of just how often I pee, color pee, if I'm thirsty, because I think our food lacks a lot now. Wow. That is like pristine, perfect. And then she goes on to kind of saying that she doesn't feel like she drinks enough water, uh, and that she could feel lethargic some days or have headaches, and that could be like, oh, well, that could be like I didn't drink enough water. I think that was a beautiful, beautiful, well constructed answer. Someone else responded with need minerals 100%. Water can't be structured and properly absorbed without minerals, but adding minerals isn't really the move. Distilled and RO water are totally stripped and dead. Interesting. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but whether I agree with it or not, does it really matter? Okay, so there's a lot that was said there. It seems like most people from or that most people that follow me are saying that like you should be adding stuff back into your water and that you necessarily shouldn't just drink plain water. Now, what would plain water just be? Is it even possible to get like plain water, right? Uh I guess your tap water at home would just kind of be like plain water unless like your city does add stuff back in it. I'm not sure here in Pittsburgh, if I'm being honest. Um, I personally know that I just don't want to necessarily drink the tap water, which is kind of contradictory because I do cook with the tap water. And my reasoning behind that is just because I feel like if I cook the water, maybe I could like kill a lot of the contaminants in there with the heat. Whether that's true or not, if someone has an answer out there, I'd love to hear what you had to say about that. Uh, but yeah, so I guess plain water would pretty much be nothing added back into it. But it's like you can go to Walmart and get water from there and they'll add what like potassium chloride or uh magnesium in the water, you know. So like is that still plain water? Right? Uh Even here what I'm drinking now, it's just Berkey filtered water. And then I added two just like I just like pinched it, 2 pinches of uh Celtic sea salt, just for I guess you could say, oh, just for some minerals and electrolytes. But yeah, it does seem like most people are saying that it is good to add the minerals and electrolytes to your water. And I think there's a lot to say on that. Matter of fact, it's okay, so there's a guy that I follow on Instagram, and he's like so against drinking plain water. And what he says for the most part is that uh, it doesn't nourish, it doesn't hydrate, it doesn't taste good. So let's start with nourish. Does plain water nourish you? Right. Now, I think once again, my question to this would be, what would you consider plain water? Because potentially speaking, that your tap water could have minerals in it. It could have stuff in it. So is it necessarily plain water? Like distilled, I think distilled water would probably be plain water, straight up plain water. Um, but I'm assuming that he would pretty much be saying that uh plain water is just, your tap water that you get, or even reverse osmosis water, right? Or Berkey filtered water without anything added into it. I'm assuming that's kind of what he's saying. Now, it not nourishing, what is nourishing, right? Nourishing in my opinion, and I feel like AJ actually would give a better answer on this, but uh nourishing is giving your body everything it needs. And not only doing that, but just taking the steps to actually make yourself or do the best you can to help yourself feel good. And it's kind of weird, I guess, because maybe feeling good isn't like doing stuff that makes you feel good may not be nourishing. Um, but yeah, maybe I was getting off topic there. I guess with like the nourishing, it's more about getting nutrient dense foods into your body and actually giving yourself nourishment, not just like, eating bullshit all day, So that would pretty much be nourishing. That wasn't the best answer. Getting the minerals and getting the electrolytes, getting, the good food in you. So yeah, I mean, I guess for the most part, like it's not nourishing. Okay, but like everything you do in your life doesn't have to be nourishing. You got to live life at some point, right? And if you're already eating a nourishing diet, then does your water also have to be nourishing? It's a question to ask. It doesn't hydrate. So hydration can be a separate episode on its own. It's going to be one day. Uh, from what I'm aware of in regards to hydration, it's all about the balance and the levels of certain electrolytes in your body, mainly speaking to water, sodium, and potassium. And there's a certain ratio with sodium, potassium that your body has to maintain, along with the water balance in that. And if I'm not mistaken, that's really where the hydration comes into it. There's also other factors, like chloride, um, bicarbonate, I think it's called. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that kind of goes into it: calcium, bicarbonate, magnesium, phosphate. Uh, yeah, it's just more than sodium and potassium, but those are the main two, and it's all about the balance. I'm not going to sit here and riddle you with the formulas and stuff, or the measurements, but it's all about the balance in the body. And the way that I kind of see it is that if you just give your body enough, it's going to do with what it wants, and it's going to get rid of everything else, and it's going to maintain that balance. Uh, Now is that you don't obviously want to overdo it and be like, oh my gosh, I need so much potassium, and you're just shoving potassium down your throat, or you need so much water and you're drinking 2 gallons of water a day. Like, no, 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 no. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, so he says that doesn't hydrate. I'd probably say yes to some regard it does. But I think that's more of kind of like a how you feel thing. Pretty similar, to, matter of fact, to what the one individual said, that where he said like, oh, I can drink plain water, but I don't feel like it hydrates me, you know. But she adds minerals and electrolytes, and boom, she feels hydrated, So that's a really good point there. Um, his last point is that it doesn't taste good. So water doesn't taste good. Yeah, I mean, does it? That's just a personal opinion. There's times when I'm like, oh my gosh, you drink water and you're like, wow, this water is just like phenomenal. Like it's really hitting the spot. It really does taste good. Um, and I think that's kind of where it needs to be in that regard. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be like, oh, water is the best, you know. But I still think that's like personal. Hmm. I mean, if you have good filtered water, it does taste kind of decent, I guess. I don't know. But this guy's more about not drinking plain water. Not plain fucking water is his like thing, NPFW. Um, so those are pretty much his three main statements regarding that. Now, this is all so interesting because I actually came across a reel from a nutritionist talking about if you should drink plain water. It was actually like really it was so weird how it came up. And pretty much what she was saying is that it's fine if you drink plain water, that you get enough nutrients from your food, you get enough sodium and potassium from your food, you don't have to add it into your water. Hey, it's okay to do that, right? Now, even with this, I feel like it comes down to a point of are you getting enough nutrition though? You know, we see these people out there and what are they eating? You know, are they eating bullshit? Are you eating processed food? Are you just eating out all the time, eating French fries and burgers and which there's a lot of sodium in that. So you may need some water to help balance out your hydration levels. um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like it's so kind of controversial. And that's why, and this is something that AJ has taught me. Um, that's why I'm really just kind of all about like, how do you feel? You know, like who cares if it's plain water? If you drink it, how do you feel? Right? Comes back to the same example as wow, this one individual, perfect example. You know, she really hit the nail on the head. How do you feel when you drink plain water? Like, do you like it? Does it feel? Does it taste good? uh, does it make you feel good? You know, and I feel like it could be like hard to tell. Like, I don't really think that water necessarily makes me feel good. But I feel like at the end of the day, maybe it does actually, because I do feel good and like with my life in general. But I guess the water is kind of like the foundation, one of the foundational steps for feeling good. So yeah, but I just think that's the biggest question to ask yourself is just like, how do you feel, you know? And there's times, you know, when I'll add lemon to my water or I'll even add minerals to my water or but for the most part I do add Celtic sea salt just for the heck of it. And it seems to be working out fine for me. You know, I'm not like I don't feel like I have any issues whatsoever. Um, but yeah, so I think with drinking water in general too, a lot of it does come down to um how active you are, you know, how much you're peeing in a day, how much you're sweating, you know. If you are pissing and sweating, peeing, sorry. I feel like pissing is more derogatory or yeah, derogatory. Uh, I think it all depends on that because I mean you're completely getting rid of that stuff in your body, but it's also like if you're peeing 12, 15 times a day, it's like it's good to ask yourself like how much water are you drinking, right? And clearly you're not absorbing or utilizing any of the water that you are drinking if you're just pissing that much. So it's like, holy heck, do I drink that much? You know, and that's probably a case where you do need to add, you know, maybe some minerals or electrolytes to your water. Your body kind of holds on to that. That's kind of where I see it all as is like if you do add stuff to your water, I feel like it does have a better chance of being utilized and absorbed into the body. And I do believe that. I will say I do believe that. Now I have an example here. It's a little story here. So I did a 100-mile bike ride before, one time. That was it. Will I ever do it again? I think it'd be great to do it again. But I'm not in the bike at all. Just the time stuff. Um, but yeah, actually I did it with Leo. For those of you guys that know Leo, and then a buddy of mine, Dave. Haven't talked to Dave in a while. Should reach out to him soon. But he's a big biker guy. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. And I actually vividly remember I drank a ton of water not the entire time, but we stopped and I like threw down water. I had 2 bottles beforehand, tossed it all down. The entire ride, I didn't have to pee one single time. This is 100 miles, probably took 6.5 hours. Didn't have to pee one single time. And the way that I look at that is that my body was just actually utilizing the water and keeping everything in balance and, taking care of me and not just wanting to get out and piss and get rid of the water. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. Uh, Now, how much to drink? There's like people they set these standards of like, oh, drink half your body weight in water. So okay, if you're 200 pounds, you drink 100 ounces of water a day. So I'm like 180, I'm like 185 ish. So for me, it'd probably be around 90 ounces of water, which is like I guess, three of these for the most part. But I still feel like there's a lot that comes into it. Like if I'm eating a lot of fruit, that's a lot of water rich food there. Like, do I really got to be drinking that much water? You know, so it just comes back down to the feel thing. How do you feel? Now, I did want to bring up uh the the Durian Rider thing because he's big on water and he does say that uh it's good to drink, 32 ounces of water for a meal, right? And I'm extremely methodical. I like eating and then, kind of wait to eat again, then eat again, and then eat again. I don't like just being like, snack here, snack there, blah, 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 do whatever I want. I mean, I will say I do have those days where I am like that. And I think those days are kind of, it's like good to work in. It's good to kind of change it up and have a day like that. Just because I feel like that right there is a day where you are like, oh, listening to your body. But let's not. I'm getting away from the point here. So Drain Riders, let's say you have 3 meals. Drink a liter of water before a meal, right? And I have seen a ton of benefits from that, even with like digestion of my food and how I feel after. I mean, I've noticed great results. No, I don't always drink that much for a meal. Even like yesterday, I actually had a bunch of actually had a bunch of grapes for lunch, ton of grapes, and I didn't drink the whole 32 ounces. I just probably drank like half or a little over half. And I was like, yeah, honestly, I'm kind of good. I'm not really thirsty anymore. And boom, I didn't drink it all. So, um, yeah, but I feel like for eating more starchy foods, they are kind of more drying on the body. So I definitely think that it is better, or it is nice to at least have some water near you, or to drink while you're, um, or to drink before you eat. So, yeah, and I do believe that, drinking the water before your meal, it's preparing your body for the food coming in. It's almost like it's like setting, the good foundation, a good slate for everything to come in. You're not eating on a dry system. You're actually drinking the water first. You're giving the body what it needs. It needs water. There's probably water used in pretty much every function of the body. You could probably argue. Uh, so you have the water, and now you can enjoy your food and be free, right? But I still don't get it. Honestly, I still don't get too buttered over it. I did the best I can, um, with the water. So now, I feel like the drinking when you're thirsty thing is like, it's so tough. It's it's almost like it's like really confusing because you know people will say, oh, like you're actually so dehydrated when you're not thirsty and your body's not craving the water. um and I actually take Harley's advice to where he says eat before you're hungry, drink before you're thirsty, and sleep before you're tired. you know um I get up every morning and I have water here. I usually do drink the full 32 ounces. Lunch. Should I finish this real quick? No, I'm just gonna take a little sip. Um, but I usually do drink the full 32 in the morning just to start my day. And then I'll either eat or I'll have juice or something. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely times when I am thirsty. Like usually maybe like after a workout or a sauna, I'm like, wow, I could really use some water. Boom, fires me up, replenishes. We're good to go, baby. Uh, so yeah, plain water. Should you drink plain water? It's a great question. It really is a great question. I think I brought a lot to you today. I feel like I didn't actually say enough. I am running a bit short on time here, so we are going to start closing up here soon. Uh, this is going to need to be talked about again. It's going to need to be brought up again, because I do love talking about water. Um, AJ, you didn't answer my story. I wanted your response, AJ. um, but no, I feel like AJ would pretty much agree with most of what I'm saying here. And we'll definitely do another episode on water one day. But yeah, I guess just to conclude here with the water, um, I think the overall and overriding factor is how do you feel? Do you feel good? Maybe what you're missing is plain water, or maybe some water with added electrolytes and minerals. That seems to be the common theme with what people are saying is that um, you want to to add that stuff back into your water. And matter of fact, this is actually something that I missed, that I wanted to bring up because it's important to me. And I'm not okay. So I'm not the biggest guy where it's like, oh, back in the Paleolithic area or back in nature we were doing this, in nature we were doing that. Because I mean we're not in nature. Let's look outside. Like I'm in a house, right? It is what it is. You know, I'm not living in the woods. I'm not fighting for my food. I can go to the grocery store and get whatever I want. Um, it's different times. So I think we got to live differently in that regard. But I do believe that there's some questions that you can correlate to nature and bring up. Now, not everything, but there's some stuff that you can. And I think the water one is a great one. So it's like if let's say we were in nature, you know, uh, what kind of water would we be drinking? Like if you were at with your family on a farm and, you're growing root vegetables and eating fruit and stuff, or you are, in the woods fighting for your life, whatever. Like, what kind of water would you be drinking? And even the one individual mentioned that spring water is more natural. And I do agree with that. I do think um, that we would be getting our water source from streams and coming from the ground and in the ground and in the earth. Like I believe that I won't say it's like the most naturally structured. I mean, actually, it probably is. I don't know why I'm saying that. It definitely is the most naturally structured water. Uh, but I do believe that it would have some minerals in it, and it would probably have electrolytes naturally in the water, and that's what we will be drinking, and that could potentially be nourishing us to some regard. If you're not already getting it from your food. So I think for something like that, it's a really it's so unique, and it just like makes to me it just kind of makes sense to ask that question, to go back to nature and ask that in regards to water. But a lot of the stuff, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we could question here, and not, people will be like, okay, well, we ate meat back in the day, right? uh and that's natural to us, which, like, yeah, for the most part it probably is natural. But I feel like something like this, it's a completely different time, and you can live without eating meat nowadays. There's so much out there that you can do and you can eat, that you don't have to eat meat or eat animal products. um that's once again, that's a whole different podcast story, whatever. But I just think that the water one can definitely be brought back to nature. And with that, I do think that, let's repeat myself, that there were minerals, there were electrolytes naturally in the water, and that probably some of the water that we're drinking today is void of that, and it's not in its best shape. So that right there alone could give you an answer as to whether you should drink just plain water, if you should be adding stuff back into your water. Now, that's totally a nature fallacy. It may not be true. You can believe whatever you want to believe, or a natural fallacy, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, so do with it as you will. I actually even like brought up studies. We're trying to read some studies and stuff and whatnot, and I didn't even bring anything up today. But I mean, it's all good. It is what it is. We'll have to get back into that another time. Um, Water intake, water balance, and the elusive daily water requirement. Yeah, I was just kind of reading this. They say a lot of like big, stupid words. It just like doesn't make any sense. um, but yeah. So guys, with that, I really hope that you enjoyed that. Uh, I think that for the most part, I answered the question of should you drink plain water? And yeah, I think you should. I don't think it really like is it that I guess it's kind of like is it that big of a deal, you know? Uh but once again, there's definitely factors, sweating, peeing, how active you are, how thirsty you actually are, how do you feel? And that alone can decide as to whether or not you should be drinking plain water, if you should be adding stuff back to your water, or however you just kind of live your life, just keep living your life. And maybe if you want to change it up, change it up. So, anyways, with that, guys, I'm headed out. Stay up, be great. Always keep it 100.